All right, Aaron. This week we are looking at how the pandemic is intersecting with another respiratory illness endemic to Arizona, valley fever. It's caused by a fungus in our soil, but this danger in the dust is drawing new attention. We introduced you to Jeff Weinbrenner, who just moved to Marana as a young, healthy guy till he breathed in some dust in 2012.
It's not one of those things that you want to think about or talk about, to be honest with you, but they saved my life.
The valley fever infection from spores in the dust reached his brain fast. He couldn't walk, had IVs around the clock, even lost his hearing. Years later, he's stabilized, but still struggling. And he knows he wouldn't be here at all without one crucial decision.
Luckily, I had a very experienced doctor who tested me for valley fever, and it was.
Jeff doesn't want anyone else to go through this. He wants to make sure you get a valley fever test if you have symptoms.
If you feel sick and you go in and you're not getting a diagnosis, you need to ask for a test of your titer levels for valley fever. Being your own advocate is huge, because if you don't go in and get the test, nobody's going to know.
Jeff's story is not surprising to Congressman from Arizona, David Schweikert.
I met a young man who had most of his spine dissolved by the valley fever. He was being held together by pins and needles.
He co-founded the Congressional Valley Fever Task Force, bringing national attention to an orphan disease, one that has largely been ignored because it's regional. But the implications for health and even business are huge, in the billions of dollars.
But it affects almost the entire nation if they have a nexus to us here in the desert Southwest. The number of people who come through Tucson or the Valley or even the California desert and may find themselves sitting someplace in New York and there's this funny scar on their lung. How many of the doctors there have ever even heard of valley fever?
Schweikert wants to make sure Arizonans spread the word to anyone we know who's visited the area and now has coronavirus-like symptoms. That could be another respiratory illness we know all too well in southern Arizona.
Even some individuals who believe this damage could be COVID, it actually could be valley fever, or vice versa.
It is possible, but very rare to contract both at the same time. If you've had valley fever, you're not more susceptible to COVID. Congressman Schweikert is optimistic a vaccine will be ready in the next 5 or 6 years. He says Congress approved a couple more $1 million for research, and there's progress in testing and treatment.
We have come light years.
You may have heard this popular belief that you won't get valley fever after living here for a few years. Well, the median diagnosis for residents is actually 12 years, and the fungus can lie dormant in your body. It is not contagious, and there's no real way to prevent it, but you can help by avoiding dust. For comprehensive information on valley fever, check out our new podcast, Danger in the Dust. It's available now in the Apple Podcast app, iTunes Store, or Google Podcast app. Just search for KOLD News 13 and click Danger in the Dust. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get updates when new episodes go live.